I'm curious right now. Can we finally break past the 40-point barrier? Like, can we finally do that? Right now, I go into these games, I don't know what to expect. The lack of continuity, the lack of structure, which, has just compounded and compounded and compounded even more this season due to the influx of new players that we've brought into the squad. It's made things very hard to predict how we're going to approach any games now. I don't know what formation we're going to use, what players are going to start, what their attacking lineup's going to be. Different combos every single week, and it's no surprise that we are suffering so hard this season. And in complete comparison and contrast to Arsenal, a team that, they've been building slowly over the past few years now. And if I was to be brutally honest and real with you guys, Arsenal have been very impressive this season. But I think seeing how their season's currently ending, after beating Leeds 4-1, they picked up 3 draws, against West Ham, Liverpool, etc. And then they got absolutely demolished and really humbled by Man City. And, when the season's coming to an end, these are the big crunch games that can really determine if you're going to win the league. And I think this period is really showing that Arsenal aren't just there right now. And personally, I kind of feel like Arsenal have taken advantage of the fact that many teams were traditionally getting top 4 spots, top 6 spots. They are in transition states this year. Liverpool have fallen off. Man United have had tons of difficulties throughout the season. Us, of course, we speak for ourselves. And it's no surprise why Newcastle and Arsenal, 2 teams that ended the season very well last season, that have signed the right profiles to play a particular style of football. They're not going crazy in the market trying to sign any quality player and then forcing them to somehow make a team from like a talented mess. They're not doing none of that. And I think rightfully they have shown that these are like the basic principles of football. If you want to get success, you have to get the principles right and you build on from them. And in that sense, it's a simple game with tons of complexities. And I feel like this is why we are currently having the season we have. And this is why we have been shown up by Arsenal today. So I think with the game tomorrow evening, it's going to be a very, very interesting game because Arsenal will be hurting after losing against Man City. It's been their best opportunity in years to win the league this season. And it seems like things are slowly starting to collapse for them. And you look to us now and you just think to yourself, can we add salt to their injuries? Can we put the finishing final blow to really just end their season completely, end all their hopes, and hopefully get us past the 40-point barrier? I mean, technically, I don't think we're going to get relegated this season. I think we're still too far away, but even me saying that right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we lost maybe 1 or 2 more games and then things get very tense as the season's coming to an end. So tomorrow is going to be a big game for everyone, for Arsenal's say of the season, for our hopes. Of course, a lot of players have a lot of shared history. Jorginho, we should be seeing him tomorrow. Massive loss in the dressing room with how he was suddenly kicked out and omitted. Be nice to see him. Aubameyang, of course, returning back to Arsenal too. Is he going to start tomorrow? That's what we're all curious to see right now. And plus, guys like Mudryk, Arsenal came very close. We're trying to sign this guy for how long? And he signed for us instead in the space of like 1 week. So, there's a lot to play for technically in a game like this. And I do feel like whoever's the victor in the game tomorrow is going to be a real test of do I want to say character? I don't even know right now because, listen, even if we don't win tomorrow, it means nothing in the entirety of the season. But at least getting a win over Arsenal, getting a win over a London rival, at least having some bragging rights for a little bit, that's something I'll take, yeah? I'll actually take that right now. So my friends, in today's preview, I'm going to go through the team news, the press conference, my predicted lineup, because I don't know what lineup managers are going to pick anymore. And I'll give my prediction right at the end. So share your thoughts and opinions, comment below. And in particular, let me know the lineup that you guys want to see because I'm really curious to see what you guys are saying for tomorrow. So let's not waste no more time. Right now, let's start with the team news. And we found out that Koulibaly is still out. He's going to be out for a long time and probably he might not play again until the season ends. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him. It makes more sense for him to be fit and fresh pre-season. Who even knows if he'll be at this club come next season? We don't know right now, but time will tell. We found out that Cucurella will also be out for at least 2 more weeks. Mason Mount, Reece James, self-explanatory. They've had their surgeries. They're getting ready for next season. the smart move in my opinion. And we found out that Kai Havertz is back in contention in tomorrow's game. A part of me wouldn't mind seeing Frank reverting Kai back to that 8 role, which he initially used him when he first came here, just to see what happens. Because I'm not going to lie, I think the best football I saw Kai play this season was in that like 3-game spell where he was playing on the right-hand side of the attack. And that was his more natural game. So this is what I mean. He played that way for a few games, then he's been used up front, here, there, and there's no continuity you're building from. So that's the team news out the way. Let's now focus on the press conference. And what did Frank Lampard have to say? Now, one of the journalists asked straight away, is Aubameyang going to start tomorrow? And, you know, typically Frank kept things close to his chest. He wasn't living up to his name in that moment. And all he said was that we have Oba, we have Havertz. So I'm guessing now, does that imply Lampard sees Kai as a striker now? And we have Fofana, so it's nice to know that Fofana's name is remembered. I thought he had a very, nice game against Southampton. At the time, my opinion was that in the context of that particular game, we needed more of like a focal point up front that can hold the ball for us to bring others in the game. But outside of that, with Fofana playing his natural game, I mean, you could see the enthusiasm, the dribbling skills, how he's taking guys on, how he's creating shots for himself. Came very unlucky not to score. And if this was a normal season, you think a guy who's impressed on his debut like that might get a few more minutes. But this season just needs to end right now, my friends. But anyway, let's move on to the other points and questions. Frank was asked, is this the best time now to play against Arsenal? And to be honest, it's not been an optimum time to play against anyone this season. But as I was saying before, Arsenal, they're going to feel hurt right now. They're going to feel like all their hard work, all their valiant efforts were for absolutely nothing. Lampard still states that, yes, they can still do something. Of course, he's going to say that. But honestly, if Arsenal have any hopes, they have to definitely beat us tomorrow. We have to somehow get a result against Man City. And then Man City would have to probably lose to West Ham as well too. And I just don't really see that happening with how this season's starting to shape up now. But to focus on the final point from the press conference, of course, with us playing against Arsenal, the comparisons in between, process, Arsenal's process, our process, that's naturally going to be a point of conversation. And as Lampard said, Arsenal have shown that with patience, with a strategy and with an idea, the sense of continuity that's being built upon from season on season. It's no surprise why they're having a good season right now. And normally with how leagues tend to shape up and form, whenever other teams around you have transition periods and fall off, that's always the opportunity for a surprise club to come up and do something. I think the last time we saw this was when Leicester City and Spurs were fighting it out to win the league during the 15-16 season. So yeah, just trying to re-emphasize my point I'm making, that for the quality Arsenal do have, I'm hoping that from next season onwards, when we pattern up, fix up, and the other clubs around us most likely are doing the same thing, I don't know if Arsenal will still be in that same title race contention, but time's going to tell. Lampard stated that, a process can take 2 to 3 years, and of course it takes that long. I kind of feel that process is becoming a bit of a dirty word, where it's kind of like the word woke, where it kind of means anything and everything to different people, and everyone has their own interpretation of what that word means. But, when you break it down, you need to, of course, instill your core ideas. The players need to reflect those core ideas and get familiar with them. And at the same time, you're probably adding a few signings to really just get the core principles and strategies fully on point, which is going to take even more time. So it's just how this sport works. You can't instantly buy success, because I think we've really learned that lesson this season. And to end things, when Lampard was asked about if this is the lowest confidence he's seen before, he didn't fully admit that, but kind of alluded to that. He mentioned the point that back in his day, maybe it was a bit different with how we're dealing with pressure compared to how the modern day players are doing that. But I think for me, our squad is full of how many young guys under 24 years old? Back in the day, if you were a young player, you were supported by your experienced teammates alongside you who've been there, who've done that. You can turn towards them and you can probably get a bit of confidence back in your game. But if you're full of youngers trying to still figure things out, you're still learning, I can see why things would be a little bit different. So right now, my friends, that's the press conference out of the way. Let's now move on to my predicted lineup. And I'm going to keep saying my predicted lineup because right now, you can't tell or guess what the plan is going to be every single week now. It keeps changing up. Now, Lampard can't be using this 3-6-1 or this, 3-4-2-1 with two midfield players playing in attacking mid positions. I can't see that against Arsenal. It's not encouraging or communicating that you're playing to win. For me, it communicates that you're playing to compete. And in those games against Brentford, we're playing at home, 3 at the back against a team that's parking the bus, and we're using a lot of defensive guys in attacking positions. For example, even with Conor Gallagher being like one of the most offensive players, he ended up being a guy who's supporting, making passes in place, the guys like N'Golo Kante getting inside the box. Like, if you're Brentford, you're thinking this, thank God you're doing this right now. We didn't disrupt their shape at all. It was very easy for these guys to defend against us too. One of my friends is a Brentford fan too, and he was just absolutely loving things and laughing, saying this is one of our easiest wins this season. So, my God, all I want to see is a bit of pride. And I'm not one of those guys that tends to revert back to those types of things. But I think right now, it's about playing, using a lineup that wants to attack, that wants to win. I don't even care about if we win or not. Most likely we could lose in this game tomorrow, but it's about how you play, how you approach it, and how you play to win. And they're the things that are important to me right now. So this is my predicted lineup. I want to see a classic 4-3-3. I've always just been a massive fan of this formation and system forever. I think it's a classic formation. It's always going to work. It's so fluid. There's so many ways to interpret and play with it. And we have the personnel and profiles, for God's sake. So up front, I'm going for Aubameyang. I kind of think playing against his old team, let's see what he does. Been very unlucky this season. I don't really have much criticism for Aubameyang at all. I think he's kind of hard done by a lot of people, to be fair with you. And I don't think this is why he signed for us to begin with. So yeah, I need to see Aubameyang tomorrow. Up front with him, I have to see Mudryk on the left-hand side, Madueke on the right. In midfield, I've gone for Conor, Kante, Enzo, and in defence, I've gone for Ben, Badia, Fofana, Trev, and of course Mendy in goal. Hopefully I see this guy get some game time before he goes, because his presence, listen, he has had his mid spells, but this guy's presence alone, it does have benefits for the team. But anyway, let me start with the defence first, and I've gone for this defence because against Arsenal, who are very pacey, that like to find their wingers isolated against their defenders too, I don't want us to play this safe passive football. And I just think that if you want to play with a higher line, which you need to do, you need to have pace to do that. And with guys like Thiago Silva, you have to drop your lines a bit deeper. He doesn't have that type of pace anymore to play higher up the field. And it's a big risk right now. And it's the same thing with Azpilicueta. I think if we had Aspi and Thiago Silva in the same defensive setup together, there's a massive pace disadvantage. I just think that if you approach this like Arsenal, it would just communicate weakness and passivity, in my personal opinion. So I need to see this back three. Midfield kind of speaks for itself. Listen, ideally, I would like to see like a Khan's playing on the left-hand side. We signed this guy to be a box-to-box mid. I hope it's not going to be another guy we ruin because we want to use him as an attacking mid, or we have no real place to use him. We just use him anywhere and everywhere just to give like minutes with no quality. He's a lot better than that. But again, who knows what's going to happen. And even Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I mean, for God's sake, this guy, I don't know why he stopped playing games as an 8. It's a perfect opportunity to do so. And this team needs someone that can actually drive and carry the ball up the field. Because what does that do? That creates space. And if you're a winger that's looking to keep your position high and wide, yeah, if someone's dragging the fullback or midfielder away from you, that's creating 1v1 space. So it's just like, Lampard's, like, at least go back to your attacking principles at least. I don't care if we lose like 3-2. At least it's like, hopefully it's going to be entertaining at least. That's what I can really ask for. And obviously up front, I want to see 2 inverted wingers. Madueke, of course, Mudryk. Again, they've shown some promise throughout the season. You know, I think Madueke's never really looked too bad. But maybe some consistent minutes behind him wouldn't be too bad. And I think against Brentford, he was looking to take the game to them and make things happen. And I think right now, that's the lineup I want to see. Then on the bench, we have the options then to turn the game in our favour depending on how the results going, right? So like I said, that's my lineup. Share yours below. Right now, my friends, I'm going to end things by giving my final match prediction. And to be fair with you, I'm not expecting us to win, to be fair. I'm going to be going for a 2-1 win to Arsenal. I just don't think that Arsenal can, after that L against Man City, I'd be surprised if they really capitulate even more against us, knowing the fact that our guys don't even know how to play together because there's no structure, there hasn't been any of that this whole season. We're literally strangers on the field. So this makes us a bit easier to play against right now. So if Arsenal can't do something against us, who knows? So my friends, on that note, that's the video for today. Share your thoughts and opinions. I'm EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.